Keanu Reeves walked into the Jiu Jitsu gym where no one knew his name. They made fun of him. They ignored him. They said he was slow. But after just 14 seconds, their best fighter was on the ground, tapping his hand, scared and losing. His pride was gone. It had just started to rain when he got there. The rain was light, not heavy yet. It was just enough to make everything look blurry and quiet. The parking lot was half empty. The evening classes at Reynolds Jiu Jitsu had already started. You could hear the soft sound of people hitting the mats through the walls. He got out of an old black car. He had a hood over his salt and pepper hair. His boots made little noise on the wet ground. He wore a plain black hoodie with gray sweatpants. He didn't have a gym bag or any fancy clothes, just a clipboard under one arm. He borrowed it from the front desk after a quiet talk. Inside, it was warm like a big wall. He could smell sweat and something clean, like medicine. There was a lot of shouting and laughing, and the sound of feet moving on the mats. The man behind the counter was young, about in his 20s. He had a short haircut and earbuds in his ears. He barely looked up when the door closed. "Are you here for the kids' class or cardio?" the man asked, tapping on a tablet without much interest. "Intro trial," the man said quietly. His voice was low and a little rough, like he hadn't spoken much. The clerk blinked, looking at the man. "Have you done this before?" The man didn't answer right away. "I've moved," he said simply. The clerk smirked and slid a Form A drake the desk. "Sure, fill this out. Coach will tell you if you're ready." He didn't say anything more. He didn't ask questions. On the form, where it asked for an emergency contact, he stopped but left it blank. When he gave the form back, the clerk looked closely at the name. Jonathan. "All right, Jonathan. First class is free. Don't get killed." The man nodded a little and looked around at the mats. There were about 20 men in bright GI uniforms. White, blue, and purple. Their bodies looked strong, but some just wanted to look good, not really be good at jiu-jitsu. They laughed when someone got swept during warm-up. He walked onto the mat without saying anything. Nobody noticed. There was no silence or big reaction because no one cared. He was just another guy trying to get back into the sport, someone too old for the young group. But Maya saw him. She was the only woman in the class. She stopped what she was doing and frowned. It wasn't how he looked that caught her attention. It was how he moved, how his foot landed and how he entered the space. He wasn't walking on the mat. He was entering it like it belonged to him. Then the coach shouted, "Partner up!" Everyone grabbed a partner fast, but Keanu stayed still with his hands relaxed, looking around like he had all the time in the world. No one wanted to be his partner. No one called his name. In the corner, someone whispered, "He probably just wants to sweat and post videos on TikTok." No one saw how he turned his head and listened carefully, not reacting. Nobody knew what was coming, except maybe Maya. But even she didn't guess it would only take 14 seconds. The drill started with rolls forward and backward a drake the mats. Everyone was moving like they were learning to move without thinking. Keanu watched quietly, then moved with them. His rolls were smooth and not flashy, just efficient. He moved his hips right and tucked his head like a pro. Every move had a purpose. It wasn't from watching videos online or just a few classes. But no one noticed. The younger guys were too busy showing off and testing each other. Jaden, the front desk kid, now wearing a blue GI, strutted a drake the mat like he owned the place. He glanced at Keanu but didn't look him in the eye. Maya was paired with a clumsy white belt. She glanced over at Keanu as he practiced a technical shrimp move a drake the mat. She blinked and looked back at her partner. "Partner up!" the coach yelled again. Chaos broke out. People clapped and shouted and found partners. But Keanu stayed still, scanning the room. People looked past him, around him, but never at him. They didn't ignore him because they hated him. They ignored him because they assumed he didn't matter. He wasn't loud or flashy. No tattoos or swagger. Just quiet and calm. "Hey Jaden," the coach called. "You got no partner? Help the new guy." Jaden rolled his eyes but came to the center to meet Keanu. They started a guard passing drill. Jaden told Keanu where to put his hands and knees like he was teaching a beginner, but he didn't ask. Jaden pushed forward hard, elbow digging into Keanu's thigh. Keanu grunted but didn't move much. He let the pass happen. Jaden smirked. Easy. They switched. Keanu moved clean and balanced. He didn't try to show off or dominate. He was just quiet and careful. Jaden's brow twitched. They went again, more aggressive this time. Keanu passed him again, calm and balanced. By the third round, some students stopped to look. Beginner's luck, Jaden said, annoyed. The drill changed to bear crawls, sprawls, and shrimping. Keanu kept up easily. He was never the fastest or loudest, but he was never wrong. Coach Reynolds looked at him for a moment and then looked away. After class, no one talked to Keanu. A few nodded politely. One guy laughed and said, "Not bad, old man." Keanu didn't say anything. Later, in the parking lot, Maya stepped beside him as he opened his car door. "You've trained before," she said, draking her arms. Keanu looked at her, almost smiling. "Some," he said. Then he got into his car and drove away. No one noticed the black sedan leave, but Maya did. By Wednesday, people were talking. "Who is that guy? He's not new. You don't move like that if you're new." "Nah, probably some ex-karate dad trying to get fit." Keanu said nothing. He came early and left late. He was always alone. His black hoodie stayed on during warm-ups. No flashy gear, no belt politics, just perfect moves and control. That made people nervous, especially Coach Reynolds. Reynolds had seen this before. Fighters who didn't show off were the most dangerous. The ones who moved right didn't need to brag. That scared him. On Thursday evening, after class, students were leaving in groups, sweaty and chatting. Reynolds leaned against the front desk, arms draped. His eyes followed Keanu tying his shoes. "Are you busy Friday night?" he asked. Keanu looked up but didn't smile. "No." Reynolds grinned. "We're having a challenging night." Keanu said nothing. Reynolds explained. "It happens every few months. Sparring under the lights. No points, no time limits. Just one rule, submit or get submitted." He paused and added, "Great way to see where you really stand." Behind Reynolds, Derek Stone appeared. He was the golden boy, the local hero, 25 years old. Shredded and cocky, the gym's gatekeeper. Derek slapped the wall next to Keanu with big excitement. "Coach says we have a mysterious new student," he said loudly. "Thought I'd give him a warm welcome." Keanu looked at him calm as still water. "I accept," he said simply. That one sentence seemed to make a big wave in the room. Maya, packing her things on the other side of the mat, stopped and looked at Keanu. Her face said, "Don't trust them." But Keanu had already made his choice. Derek clapped loudly and spun back to Reynolds. "This will be fun." "Oh, and Jonathan," Reynolds added, pausing. As Keanu stood up to leave, someone said, "We like to give new people a little prize." Keanu waited. "If you beat Derek, we will pay for your gym membership for the whole year." Keanu asked, "And what if I lose?" Then they said, "You find another gym, one that suits you better." It was a challenge, but it sounded kind. Keanu nodded just a little and said, "Okay, I understand." Derek smiled, already thinking about the fight. "You know what I think?" Derek said as Keanu turned to go. Keanu stopped but didn't look back. Derek said, "I think you have good moves for someone trying to be a hero again." Keanu looked over his shoulder and said softly, "There were no glory days." Then he walked out. Later that night, a piece of paper was put up on the gym's board. It said, "Challenge Night Friday at 8 p.m. Derek the Lion Stone versus Jonathan." Yes, Jonathan was really his name. One match, one winner. Under it, someone wrote with a big marker, "Old men belong in rocking chairs." Nobody noticed Maya quietly took that paper down an hour later. No one saw Keanu give her a small smile when she passed him in the parking lot. Friday night came like a big show. The floor mat was cleaned and ready. The lights were dimmed everywhere except one bright light right above the middle of the mat. People put their water bottles along the edge of the mat like little gifts. The air smelled like sweat and excitement and a little fear. Derek was already warming up without his shirt, showing his muscles. He wore special clothes with a lion's head on the front and King of the Hill on the back. Other students stood around him, giving him fist bumps and cheering him on. Coach Reynolds walked around like he was the boss of the show. "Look at this crowd," he said loudly. "They came to watch real fighting. No tricks, no luck." Then the door opened. No music played, no lights flashed, just Keanu Hood. He wore a black shirt and gray shorts, barefoot, walking like the gym was his home. For the first time that week, people really saw him and didn't know what to think. It got quiet as he stretched down low and rolled his back like a cat. No wasted moves, no looking at Derek, just calm breathing. Maya stood far back with her arms draped, looking serious. Coach clapped his hands and said, "All right, 1 round. No time limit. Only submissions. No hitting. No excuses." Derek stepped forward, bouncing on his toes. "Try not to break a hip," he joked with a grin. Keanu only nodded once. Coach lifted his arm between them and then dropped it. "Begin." Derek ran forward, not careful, but confident. He faked grabbing Keanu's collar and quickly tried to take him down by his legs. If you didn't know better, it looked like a perfect move. But Keanu was ready. He dropped his hips fast and heavy like a big rock. Derek's head bumped against his thigh and he lost balance. Keanu slid one arm under Derek's neck and grabbed his wrist with the other. He turned his hips and flipped his body upside down. He was locked in a triangle hold. The crowd didn't understand what was happening until it was too late. Derek struggled once, twice. His face turned red. He reached out with his hands but couldn't escape. Then Derek panicked and tapped Keanu's thigh 3 times. The fight was over. It only took 14 seconds. Coach blinked in surprise. Someone gasped out loud. A phone dropped with a loud noise. The silence after the fight was so loud it felt strange. Keanu let go of the hold, rolled back, and stood up without making a big deal. Derek coughed, his eyes blurry, his mouth open like he was still trying to figure out what happened. Coach walked over, confused. "Restart. He's not ready." Keanu tilted his head. That was the deal. Maya stepped forward. "I timed it," she said. 14 seconds. Clean. Coach hesitated. Then Tyler, another student, quietly showed his phone. He had recorded the whole thing. It was clear as day. Keanu turned and walked calmly to the bench. He passed Derek, who was still kneeling on the mat, blinking like he couldn't believe it. "Balance," Keanu said softly, almost like a secret. "It begins and ends there." No one said anything. The crowd just watched Keanu leave the mat like they had just realized he was never the underdog. They had been too blind to see it before. By morning, the video had already been watched 10,000 times. No music, no editing, just quiet. Matt squeaked and a 14-second choke had changed everything about the gym. Tyler put the video on a private martial arts website to see what people thought. By lunch, it was everywhere. A forum called "Who is this guy?" had a big discussion called 14 Seconds of Truth. People guessed a lot. He's not just someone who fights for fun. That triangle hold was amazing. Look how he turns his body. He must have fought for real. Then one user named Sentry6 wrote a comment that scared Tyler. "I've seen that move before. Project Emberlight Ghost Tier Training. We called her Spectre. But this guy moves exactly the same way." Maya read over Tyler's shoulder. "Project what?" she asked. "Emberlight," Tyler said quietly. "I only see it in conspiracy stories. Deep Black Ops ghost units. People trained not just to fight but to disappear." Maya looked at the screen carefully. "And they think that's him?" Tyler clicked replay. The triangle, the smooth moves, the exactness. "It's not just how he fights," Tyler said. "It's how he wastes nothing." Maya folded her arms. "I'm going to talk to him." "Are you sure he will talk to you?" Tyler asked. She didn't answer. That evening, Maya waited by the parking lot. Keanu came out like he always did. Calm, quiet, with his hoodie up. No gym bag, just his breath making little clouds in the cold night. "I know you're not here to learn how to shrimp," Maya said simply. Keanu stopped and turned a little. His eyes under the hood were sharp and focused. I don't need to know everything, she added. But I want to know what I'm standing next to. Keanu looked at her for a long time before he spoke. There is a reason I don't wear a name. Maya nodded slowly. And the reason you picked this gym? A pause. Because I was looking for something. I think I found it. She tilted her head. What? He didn't answer. Instead, he gave her something. A small flash drive. No label, no words. Give this to Tyler, he said. Tell him to be careful where he looks next. Then he turned and walked away, disappearing into the dark without a sound. Maya stood still for a full minute before putting the drive in her pocket. Later that night, Tyler plugged it into his computer. It was locked with a super-secret military code. It took him hours to open part of it. What he found made his hands shake. The screen said, Project Emberlight Operative Roster. Partial. Status Black Classified. Operative. Drake Gavin. Status. Kia. Killed in action. Pending confirmation. Handler. Victor Hawk. Note. Subject reassigned post-termination order. Civilian sibling unknown to active control unit. Use with caution. Tyler stared at the screen. Civilian siblings? No way, he whispered. The screen blinked once and then went black. A new line of text showed up. You weren't supposed to see this. Then the flash drive popped out by itself. Tyler sat frozen, the blue light of his monitor shining on his face. In the corner of the screen, a file came back. Just a name. Spectre. The desert smells like metal and memory. Maya's SUV rumbled down a dusty road. The headlights barely cut through the settling dusk. Tyler sat in the front seat with his laptop on his lap. His fingers tapped nervously on the computer. In the back seat, Keanu was quiet. Hood drawn, eyes closed but not sleeping. Listening. Are you sure this is the right place? Maya asked. No address, no listing, Tyler said, but the satellite ping matches the one from the file Keanu gave me. That's where they moved everything after Emberlight got shut down. Or tried to. They reached a ridge and saw the buildings. Low, gray concrete buildings, half buried in dirt, surrounded by fences and broken cameras. It looked empty at first, but Keanu sat up straight before they even slowed down. The power lines are live, he said softly. No dust on the gates. Someone's been coming and going. Maya stopped the car behind some big rocks. Tyler looked around. I don't see any guards. You won't, Keanu said. This place wasn't made to be guarded. It was erased. They got out of the car and walked carefully. A side door was unlocked. No alarms went off. Just a hiss of stale, old air. When the door opened, the walls made a quiet humming sound. The lights were on. The hallways were clean. Too clean. This didn't feel like an empty, abandoned place, Maya whispered. Keanu led them quietly, turning corners like he knew this place very well, like he had been here before in another life. They walked past training rooms with broken mats on the floor, rooms for asking questions that looked like movie sets, and offices filled with file cabinets, but no names on them. Finally, they came to the vault. Keanu stopped. This is where they kept the list, he said. Tyler took out his tools. The lock on the door blinks red, then green. The door opened with a soft clunk. Inside, there were rows of metal drawers, stacks of black binders, and one blinking server tower in the back. Tyler rushed to it. Give me a second, he said quietly. Keanu and Maya waited in silence. Then, Tyler's voice shook a little. He turned the monitor toward them. On the screen, there was a name they knew. Gavin Drake. His status said, reassigned, active, under something called Directive Shadow. It said he was on psychological hold and being controlled by his handler Victor Hawk. Maya looked at Keanu. That's the name from before. You said he was your mentor, she said. Keanu's voice was low. The one they said was dead. There was a photo attached too. It showed Gavin alive, looking stronger and tougher, walking through a crowded market. The photo was from 2 years after they said he died. Underneath, a note said, Subject kept alive as an anchor point for Spectre. Use only if main control methods fail. Keanu stepped back, his face hard to read. Maya covered her mouth. They kept him alive to control you? Spectre awakens, she whispered. No, Keanu said softly. They kept him alive to remind me I was never free. Then the server started to hum louder. Tyler's eyes got wide. We're being pinged. Someone knows we're in the system. We have to go now, he said. Keanu grabbed the hard drive. Maya shut the drawer. As they turned to run, a voice crackled through the speakers above. It was cold and distorted. Spectre, welcome home. Keanu didn't flinch. He just looked down the hallway and whispered, Not anymore. Then they ran. They didn't sleep that night. Maya drove fast and quiet, her hands white from holding the wheel tight. Tyler sat in the back, hunched over, watching the stolen drive glow faintly blue like a heartbeat. Keanu said nothing. He just watched the road behind them more than the road ahead. We need to go to the press, Tyler finally said. No, Keanu answered without looking up. They are already tracking us, Maya added. That voice on the speaker, it wasn't just watching us. It was an invitation. They wanted me to find it, Keanu said. To make you angry? Keanu's jaw tightened. I tore the leash out of their hand. They came back to the city just before dawn. The gym was empty. Keanu stood in the middle of the mat quietly, the same place where he had once choked out Derek, the same floor where his new life had started. Then he walked into the office, past the front desk, and opened a drawer no one knew was locked. Inside was a small military pouch. He opened it slowly. Inside was a black wristband. No logo, no clasp, just tightly woven carbon fiber with little circuits inside. Spectre's kill switch. He turned it in his hands like it was a curse made real. Then he stood up and walked out. They found Maya around noon. She had been tricked into going to a fake medical call downtown. Tyler followed her, not letting her go alone. They were stopped in an alley by two men in tactical gear pretending to be EMTs. Tyler was thrown against a wall. Maya was tied up with zip ties and shoved into the back of a van, but she fought hard. So did Tyler. He had put a tracker on her gear. The moment the van moved, Keanu was already moving too. 40 minutes later, in the warehouse district, Keanu parked 2 blocks away and walked the rest of the way. No rush, just sure it would happen. He came in through the side, silent as a whisper. Inside there were 4 men. 2 near the back, 1 upstairs watching with a sniper rifle, and 1 pacing beside Maya. She was hurt and bloody but still strong, tied to a chair. The man pacing turned when Keanu came out of the shadows. So you came alone, he said. No, Keanu answered and flicked a switch on his wrist. The lights went out. Gas came from the floor vents. It wasn't dangerous, but it made people dizzy and confused. It was from an old Spectre plan. By the time their vision cleared, 2 men were knocked out on the floor. The 3rd man with the sniper rifle upstairs was tied up with his own rope. The last man, the leader, raised a gun. But Keanu was already close. 1 twist, 1 strike. The man's arm broke with a clean snap. The gun dropped to the floor. Keanu stared at him. You shouldn't have touched her. Then he drove his knee into the man's chest so hard the air left his lungs with a scream he couldn't finish. Minutes later, as the building burned behind them, Maya looked up at him from the passenger seat. Was that necessary? She asked. Keanu didn't blink. No, he said. But it was the first move. Far away, in a dark room, Colonel Hawk Victor watched the video quietly. He poured himself a drink and looked at the picture of Keanu's face paused mid-fight. Then he smiled. Well played, Spectre, he said softly. Let's see what you do next. The fire had long died down, but its mark was still there. On every burned beam, every broken camera, every empty breath between now and what would come next. Keanu stood alone inside Reynolds' Jiu Jitsu Academy. The windows were dark. The walls were empty, stripped of pride. Only the mat was left, scarred but untouched. The same mat where he had been laughed at, ignored, and not valued. The same mat where truth had spoken louder than rank. He knelt down, folded his hoodie carefully like he folded his belt before, and placed it gently at the center of the mat. It wasn't giving up. It was a signal. That chapter was over. But the war was not over. In the days after, Reynolds Academy was born again under a new name, Matt 14. It was a quiet reference to the seconds it took to break down ego and show corruption. Maya took over running things. Tyler became the leader of the youth programs. Students came back, not for fame, but for honesty. A different kind of fight had begun. Not muscle against muscle, but truth against lies. Integrity against abuse. And now it's your turn. Here's what you can do right now. Stand up for someone being ignored before they have to fight to be seen. Speak out against bad power, even if it comes with titles and tradition. Train, prepare, and get better. Not to show off, but to be unshakable. If you like this story, tell me in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more fun adventures and mysteries. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.